Hello, my name's Naranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Today is episode number 82, and I'll be talking to Haden Starbuck, who leads a magical life rooted in nature, critters, and creativity. Her focus is to share the beauty of her world with others through jewelry and wearable fibers. Mystic Beach Studio, and to expose more people to the fabulousness of her creativity through her podcast, The Curious Creatrix. Hello and welcome to Haden. How are you, Haden?
I am doing fabulously. How are you?
I am excited for our free flow conversation. This is going to be such a treat.
Me too.
We live in a world of so much structure and so much formation and so much systems and rigidity to a certain degree. But the world that you're living is the complete opposite. So I'm really excited to delve into some of these pieces, like what do you believe about yourself in this world of creativity and flow and creations from all levels?
It's so interesting because obviously I'm a human being on this planet having to have relationships with other human beings on this planet who have requirements and their own set of time frames. And it's very strange to be a person who wants to live more in flow, but not live in a world that also is that way. So I think I'm almost getting the image of like a little turtle that pops his head out every once in a while, looks around and goes, okay, still checking in, still here. But then I go back into my world and where everything is free and happy and fun. Not that that can't happen in the outside world, but yeah, who do I think I am? Yeah, I'm just trying to get every moment, kind of milk it for its potential. And for me, that's not about striving to make money or get to the top of the ladder before everybody else or something. It's like, hey, ooh, cool tree, I think I'll go look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, a bee digging a hole in the ground, I'm gonna go stare at that for a while. I'm just a little kid. I think that's probably it.
But I love that because that's where that wonder comes from. That's where that curiosity and that sense of adventure really comes from as children, right? It just gets beaten out of us as we get older.
Yep.
Literally and figuratively.
Oh, I think that's the whole purpose of school, is to take these little free-flowing formed beings and sort of slowly chip them away and squeeze them into a little box so that they can become good little workers.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I said too.
Good for us.
Mm-hmm. Took me a while to get there, It took me a while, but we get there slowly.
Yeah, well, you got to see what's actually happening and try it on. Does it work for you? Does it not work for you? And then make your own decisions. Some people feel really comfortable in that box.
That's right.
I feel suffocated.
Right. I'd rather not have a box.
Right?
Yeah, can we remove this?
Except for napping. I think it might be cozy. That's why cats like boxes, I think, right?
A
little nap, a little cozy place. But yeah.
But a cabin in the woods, like what looks and feels like where you are, would be a good representation of a box for me to take a little nap and
that's true.
Rejuvenate.
I have hanging chairs and hammocks. I just follow the sun around. And
I will be there.
Right.
What do you believe is your calling? Why is Haden here?
That's such a weird question for me because I think about it once in a while, purpose and calling and all that. And I think my calling and my purpose is just to be here. I think a lot of people have really, really clear, like lightning bolt things that tell them they must do this. And I think I don't get that for me personally. I just sort of feel like being present and learning to be present and being as awake as I can be, given whatever it is that I have to do in the world.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one thing, I've always been super connected to animals, super connected to nature. So if it comes a time when I have to stand up and go, hey, I'm holding space for these beings, then and maybe that's it. I mean, the piece of property I'm on, I didn't set out to have this property, but somehow I have it, or I'm co-creating with it. You can't own land. You can just hang out on it while you're alive. So maybe I'm meant for some reason to have this piece of property and take care of it while I'm alive. Sorry, don't have a simple answer for that.
That's no apology needed. I like the flowing kind of response that you're sharing. When did you recognize that you have been in this space? Was there a moment of time where there was more rigidity, where there was more structure, that maybe you got to a point of going, okay, enough is enough. I got to be in flow. I got to change my life. I got to change the way I'm showing up in the world. Was there a tipping point for you on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's tipping points all the time. I don't think it's like a one moment in life. I grew up with great parents that did allow me to have a lot of freedom. I was exposed to nature and animals and all that at a very young age. So there's always been that flow. And I think when I interact with the outside world, say in a relationship with another human, mostly interpersonal, or even a job, I will do as much as I can to be the best person in that situation. And if it gets to the point where it's like, ooh, I'm being restricted too much, if the situation can't flow with me, then that's the tipping point.
Right.
So they happen.
They do. Well, that's good.
No one specific one.
It's a good reminder to keep us on track.
Yeah, that's just like a balancing, or that pendulum, that spectrum that you just, where am I happiest on this?
That's right.
Not like a light switch that's on and off. It's a dimmer switch. How much can I tolerate now? Nope, can't tolerate that much.
Yeah, it is interesting to kind of keep us in check.
Yeah.
Are we operating from the heart still? Or did we move up into the ego mind, which we all need to a certain degree? But who's the leader here? Who's following this situation?
Yeah. And I do. I mean, I definitely have times when, because I am responsible to other people for certain things. And I have times where I say yes a little too much. And I can start feeling like just this past week, the area under my eyes has started to throb a little. It's like, okay, time to back off. A little more time for myself, start saying no a little more. So it for me, actually, it really is just kind of paying attention to my body and seeing what it's saying and listening and acknowledging that it has some wisdom.
Yes. Just a little, right? Just a tad, just like nature.
Exactly. That's my dog.
That's okay. What do you feel are some of the attributes that connect you to your purpose? Or your beingness in who Haden is, because we talked about purpose so many. What are the key pieces of you?
Attributes. The first thing that came up for me was just play. If I'm having fun, then I'm on the right path. And if I can bring other people into that and they're having fun, then we're cruising. This is good. People are smiling around me, if people are laughing.
Nice.
This it's like being a little kid. It's like, okay, I'm playing. Who wants to play with me? Okay, this is good. Let's do it. I don't know if that's necessarily an attribute, but that's what came to mind.
And these are key components to not only how you move through the world, but how you support others on their journey to creativity and cultivating that creativity within. You do it through various workshops and pieces like that, right? Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's, I think that for me, the most exciting thing is when people are curious about themselves and they're curious about their lives and their desires and their passions. And, art is it's just expressing yourself. And for someone to take the time to figure out what it is that really turns them on, maybe it's the color yellow. So you do, but, or like sometimes I feel like painting, sometimes I feel like doing sculpture. It's kind of whatever calls you in the moment. And I just provide a space for people to explore themselves and explore the beauty that lies within them and get that voice stimulated and feel safe enough to come out in the world and say, hey, this is what I am inside, because we all, I feel like we're this, I'm picturing an Easter egg or something. So that's, maybe it goes from a little plain egg and then you crack it open and there's just all this confetti and there's like this little party going on inside of me. The human body is it contains so, who we are on the outside isn't who we are on the inside, So I think art sort of pulls a bit of that excitement out into the world and shows people what is going on in the party in you. So I don't know if I'm drawn to really dark people that want to, because there's definitely a place for that using art to heal, but I'm more drawn to the party people, I guess. But anyway, I hold space for people to explore themselves and their voice, tell their story.
And while that is a beautiful space and an opportunity for you to witness somebody go through that transformation of cracking open this beautiful visual you've given me, this egg that might have, a couple of extra shells on it, a couple of cobwebs on there, a little
box with a padlock.
Right. And it being cracked open or at least pierced, and some of the confetti is falling out, this sparkly, bright, colored, light confetti that's just oozing out of the egg. It's a beautiful experience for them and for you to witness. And while you're in flow of holding space for these individuals, do you have a deeper intention as you're guiding them through that process?
An intention in the sense of my intention for them or for me or for the world?
For them, because you're holding space for them in such a nurturing, creative, and soft place, right, is what I'm sensing and feeling. Right. That for them to crack open and see that brightness within them, is there an intention you hold for them of what they could experience and witness beyond the workshop or the time that they spend with you?
Yeah, I think my main intention is that people have a conversation with themselves. I don't know, maybe that came from the thing we talked about earlier, where us getting shoved into boxes, but I think people don't have a really good relationship with what they feel, think. And how does this happen? We are us. We are only us. We are nobody else.
Yes.
So for me, the intention is that they walk away with a better relationship with themselves. And that's huge. Listening to your own voice, listening to your own desires, and recognizing that when it does come up. I mean, how many voices are in our heads? Which ones are yours? Which ones were your mom's, your auntie's, your fifth grade teacher, your,
Yeah.
whomever,
Yeah.
to really be able to hear yourself. I guess it's kind of tapping into your own intuition.
Mm-hmm.
I had to put a word on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What a beautiful opportunity that you have that, and you invite that for individuals, right?
Yeah, it's very powerful work for sure.
It is. Have you always been in the space of that depth of creativity and holding that space for them?
I don't think so. I think I had to do my own work first. And because of the pandemic, I started looking at what skills and abilities and things that I had gathered in a lifetime and what I had to offer. And I'm at a point where being a physical artist isn't quite as easy as it once was, just because I'm getting older, my body parts are starting to get sore, So it was nice to have a pandemic break from that, to be honest.
Right.
But I really started just assessing what I have to offer, what I've learned in life, and what I could pass on. And that just seemed like right up my alley,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe I have, but I now do it intentionally, if that makes sense.
Right. Absolutely.
I see it in myself now, so now I can offer it.
Yes. And isn't that the biggest gift often that we see in ourselves? Because I'm sure you have recognized it. Other people say, oh my gosh, Hayden, you're so good at this. This is brilliant. And you're like, yeah, whatever, keep going on. Put the kettle on for another cup of tea. But you don't see it. Whereas now you're like, a couple of gray hairs later, and a couple of
No, I think it's so well that comes to the idea that you got to be careful who you surround yourself by. You need to surround yourself by the people that are truly holding up a mirror for you to see your great attributes. Because if you're surrounding yourself by people that are seeing things that they think are important but are actually detrimental to who you really want to be in the world, that's not helpful. That's not a good growth and healing, loving experience. So
absolutely.
Yeah, mirrors are good.
Mirrors are so important, but they're also can be misleading. They can be misleading because of this beautiful world that we live in, and the systems and society that has said, you must do this. These people must be around you because ... And all of those shoulds can often be a deflector of who truly am I and why am I truly here?
That's why it's important to surround yourself by a really good inner group.
That's right.
If you lose it, then they can be like, okay, hang on, remember this really cool part of yourself that speaks to your heart. Also, too, taking a lot of time away, turning off the outside world. Even like 5-10 minutes a day can be huge. Right. Obviously, I recommend a lot longer because I really enjoy that. But it comes back to that balance thing. If you're always living in the outside world and always giving people what they expect, what about you? What about what you need? You're not going to be any good to anybody else if you're not really nurturing the best parts of yourself.
That's right. But it's hard to get to those best parts.
No, it's our life work.
It is. It really is, and I agree. But as we're having this conversation, I'm also reflecting on the hills and valleys of my own life, of truly stepping into the place of creativity and being in that space, but also being out of it from the full spectrum of doing, and moving away from myself. And we talked about this other component of having balance. Where is that sweet spot for us all where we can do, but also be creative, right?
That puppy is a moving target.
It really
is. Where it was yesterday is not where it is today.
It is not. That is so true. That is so true. We can have the assumptions just because we left our mug and coffee and purse or whatever on the same table the night before, the environment of it has changed the following day. So it's very interesting.
And I don't know why it happens, but I have days where I'm more tired and days where I have more energy. So what I can expect from myself one day might be different than what I can expect another day. So to be able to show up each day and go, okay, what works for me today? And maybe you overscheduled yourself and you really have to push through. Or maybe you're surrounded by people that will get it if you're like, you know what? I need to take some time off today.
Yes.
But it's just super important to check in regularly. Make sure things are still going on good inside your little egg, your little celebratory egg.
That's right. That's right.
So that what you're offering to the world is actually something positive instead of grumbling. Just as a quick story, I heard from somebody yesterday that they'd gone on this big vacation with family, and they had one family member that they knew in advance was going to grumble the whole time, and they did. And it's like, why would you want to offer that to the world? And how do you feel inside yourself if that's what's leaking out? I mean, how frustrated must you be inside if that's just all you're offering to the people you love, no less? I don't know.
Yeah.
Be happy.
But there's often a component that makes me think, do these people know they're doing it?
I asked that of my friend, and she said, I don't know. But I also feel like it was a little bit of a power struggle the more I heard the story. It was like, okay, this is how I can be present. You can all pay attention to me by me being grumbly.
Okay.
Well, okay. But does anyone want to hang out with you?
Yeah, we don't know anybody like that, do we? I don't know anybody like that at all.
No, and I'm never that way, ever.
Not at all.
We never act like petulant children at times.
So how did you get to build your surroundings in the people who are allowing you to truly flourish in all the creativity, the empowerment, and really being connected to nature on a deeper level? How did all that transpire for you? I know you talked about your parents, but what happened in between?
Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's magic.
I'll
wake up one day, I'll be like, oh, how did this happen to me? But if I really had to find an actual formula for it, I think it's that checking in. And it's like, I keep positioning myself in situations and places and times where opportunities are available to me that suit who I am as an individual. I've never worked really, really hard at achieving, head nose to the grindstone, I will have this land and this life. I just kind of, at a moment when a decision needed to be made, I was like, oh, hey, that decision looks better than that one. And I've always kept my values. I have different values than some people, I suppose, but my values are, will I be happy? Will there be free time? Will there be playtime? Is there nature? For instance, I chose the university I went to because it had really fabulous trees and was next to an ocean. Okay, I'm sure the educational part of it was good, but me, that was the deciding factor. Trees, ocean, I'm good.
Beautiful. What a great way to make a decision. That's a note to self.
I know. So by a whole lifetime of making these decisions, I've inadvertently or through some cosmic so an unconscious plan have ended up where I've ended up, and if I wasn't happy here, then I would change it. I'd make new decisions and happiness. I guess I'm always just seeking happiness.
As you should, and as we all should, which is why you do what you do so brilliantly, you know, guiding yourself and others through the difficulty of not being happy and not having fun and not playing because they're stuck in a corporate structured environment that might not be inviting that to them. So,
or even a relation. I mean, for me, the biggest shift that happened for me was about 6 years ago. Being in a relationship that I just got bogged down in and needed to leave. So it's like, okay, I'm miserable enough. The situation can't change. We tried that. So I'm out of here. And big, very lovely thing to have done. Wow, I don't even have words for it, even 6 years later. Big. All I can say is big. Yeah. You take care of yourself.
Because before we know it, it's all over in a flash, right? I mean, if anything, we know COVID has amplified that for us. So
yeah, I've always had, I've had family members die. Death has not been a complete mystery to me, but there was something about that pandemic that I started thinking about my mortality. Oh, you know, and I'm in my 50s, so it's not like I'm not aware of time going by, but it's like, that kind of shifted things for me. It's like, okay, no more bad decisions. We're done with testing bad decisions. Let's just make as good ones as we can, and you know. Life.
It's beautiful, and it's such a beautiful gift, though, really, isn't it? Life, and how sometimes we can dismiss all the beauty it has to offer by getting so granular in the doing, the action, and all of that stuff that can weigh us down, even though it's necessary, but adding so much weight on it can tip the scale of creativity way out there in the cosmos where it doesn't belong.
Well, and I think sometimes, you know, there is all that stuff you need to do, but I think sometimes we think maybe more as women than men. I don't know. I can only speak for myself as a woman. I think that we think we're more important in doing some of those things than we actually are. So we need to take on more and do more. And it might surprise a lot of us to find that the world doesn't fall apart if we let some things go.
That's right.
I've had some things on a to-do list that, you know, I'll do a to-do list for this week and then next week. And eventually those things they vanish. They didn't make it to the next to-do list. And the world didn't fall apart. They didn't get done, or maybe they did. I don't know, but they just vanished. And
that's right.
It's all okay. So I think it's important to really look at it, you know, yes, we're doing, but do we need to do that much?
And are we truly present in that moment of doing, or are we just so out of our body by doing that we're just like, you can see a facade of somebody who represents you sitting at a computer for 20 hours a day doing check, you know? It's a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with all this free-flowing and creativity that you have, because they're the words that come to mind when I see you and when I think of your offerings and your experiences that you share, that to me also comes in alignment to the energy world that we are living and how we are now pouring into the divine feminine and creating a beautiful balance from the masculine and the feminine. Not to say men, or those who identify as men, don't have that quality, because every single human being on this planet has both types of energy. So regardless of how you want to identify yourself. So how did that work for you by truly being in the feminine and in the flow, and how, because that was a bit of a shift, especially welcoming and accepting it for yourself.
You know, it's weird. I have always, there were female relationships in my life where there was competition and whatnot. I've always been drawn to really strong women that are super supportive and loving, and that we build each other up. That's just been maybe
Nice.
maybe that was my mom or my grandma. I don't know where I got that, but I just love feminine energy. I can't imagine basking in anything else, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a natural place for me, and I would like the world to move into more of that energy, because I mean, think maybe somebody had bad moms, but think of what a mom represents. Just that you're seen, you're held, you're loved,
Yes.
you're supported. I'm giving myself goosebumps. You're
Yeah,
just,
me too.
it's just like the most beautiful place to be. And kind of for me, that's what nature is, or even the animals in my life. They're just like, I just want to be near you because I love you,
Yes.
And
Yes.
I started talking to my, because I have land and we were on lockdown, and not that I didn't see some humans, but started talking to my land, and they're developing next door. And I told my trees, I will save you. I will protect you from destruction. And they were like, come on, we're older than you, and we're going to save you. And it was like, oh yeah, what is this whole human ego? I will save the world. It's like, oh no, it's saving me as much or more than I'm saving it.
Right? Yeah.
So just that place of like love and respect and nourishing. It's yummy. The world needs more.
I totally agree. But it's keeping that balance. I mean, you reference the trees and the land, of one being the savior and one being to be saved. But it's the balance. They couldn't do maybe what they are designed to do as you if there was no harmony.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're looking at with these new energies coming in. It's to create harmony. It's not to poo-poo the masculine energy, because we all need it, but it's to create a balance. It's to create harmony so we can come back into nature and be in that soft and nurturing space that you talk about when you reference mothers, because you gave me the chills too when you actually said that too. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love when those happen, because it's like, okay, this truth is being spoken. This is,
That's right.
For us at least, maybe other people not, but for us, that's true. And that's what I mean about listening to your body, because it's like your body knows.
That's right.
It just knows.
Yeah.
So.
We don't tune in enough to give it the credit and to give it the opportunity to speak to us on a different level.
And it's even worse than that. I mean, I don't know how it is for other people, and maybe it's worse now because of social media, but growing up as a kid, we learned, as girls anyway, to dislike our bodies, to hate our bodies, and to realize that our bodies drew attention to us that we didn't really want.
Yeah.
So we had a really complicated relationship with our bodies, and yet it's where we live. Yeah. So to to get that relationship healthy again is huge. It's just fabulous and fun.
But also, absolutely. It is meant to be fun. But even just to have a healthy relationship with your body, because there are, I'm sure, many individuals who have never had a healthy relationship with their body that they can consciously remember. So that in itself, I think, is it's an exploratory journey, as the hundreds and thousands of beautiful little sparkles are in that egg, creating and creating and creating and creating, waiting for it to be broken. For when you have the courage to go, okay, now it's time for me to break out of this structure and listen to who I am and have all this deliciousness come out. So, and you create such a beautiful space for that.
I try, for sure.
What does it mean when you talk about awakening a creative part of yourself, because we talked about the masculine energy, but also the feminine energy. And it's the feminine energy that's to be awakened, I believe, in all forms of life. That awakening process, what does that look like from your lens?
Yeah, it's so weird. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we just realized that people that work at home and are creatives, we have a different rhythm maybe than some people. And I just blurted out, sometimes I'm just standing there staring into what looks like staring into space, but I'm really kind of processing and intuiting and seeing what's there so that I can take the next step. So for me, that feels like the feminine, where I'm open, and I'm like, I get some of my best ideas just walking through the woods. All of a sudden, flash of lightning, whatever. So that to me is the feminine, of just being open and receptive. And the masculine to me is, okay, now I'm going to go do that thing that I just got the idea for.
Nice.
So at the moment, I'm living more in the feminine because the outside world is interrupting me having my masculine have the time to go do these big projects I have in mind. And that's quite fun. So I guess I'm using my masculine in the outside world more at the moment. And my feminine is more my relaxation time and just wandering the land and getting inspired and waiting until the outside world kind of goes away a little so I can go play. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. As you get those creative nudges and inspiration from that beautiful nature that you're surrounded by.
Yeah. Or just, if you're a painter, just staring at your paints, organizing your studio, or you're walking through town and you see this really gorgeous child and you're like, I want to paint that, or, inspiration can come from anywhere. Mine just happens to come generally from the woods.
Yes. Nature is such a beautiful gift for that.
Yeah.
In the minutest things of growing food, because I know that's been something talked about a lot, especially over the last couple of years, to gardening, there's been lots of reference of going out into nature and getting into walking and appreciating the beauty of it, especially as we go through all the seasons. It's such a gift. So many intricate little patterns that happen that put us into that space.
And I feel like it slows you down, because it is moving at a very different pace than we are. And that, for me anyway, is so important, to just get out of that kind of that little, well, they always say the rat race, right? I don't know if people are still doing that, because things have shifted on the planet, but that go, do, the to-do list. When you're out in nature, it's like, you're just there.
Yeah.
You don't have to do the dishes or the laundry or go shopping or pick up the kids at daycare or whatever. Just there. And so I think just the slowing, and it's a natural place to be observant, which is for me where a lot of inspiration comes from. So like I said before, that bee digging in the ground. I didn't know bees dug in the ground. Now I go looking for it because it's the coolest thing to watch. Those little bee butts up in the air while they're digging. But just the observer, and the seasons. Oh my goodness. It's been so much fun with the seasons.
Yeah. With that space of observing and intuiting, has that taken you on a deeper journey within yourself? And I want to say the astral world or the metaphysical world. What's that journey been like for you?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely feel like it's a portal for sure. I even have, oh my gosh, my mom died back in my 30s, and she left me this beautiful, I have it because she died. This beautiful wind chime, this really deep wind chime, deep sounding wind chime on one of my trees. And I go and I stand in front of it, and there's something about it that it's like it cleanses parts of me. And I've been really obsessed with putting the top of my head down towards it. And there's, I don't know, it's just like it opens up. Maybe it's that cracked egg again. It just kind of opens me up. Shoot, I now forgot what your question was.
The question was about your intuitive senses and the mysticism of the energy world.
Yeah. So I think what happens for me is obviously meditation is, well, not obviously, but meditation is important in my life. And when I'm in nature, it's very similar. I used to sit and meditate. Actually, I prefer laying down or standing or moving. It's like a moving meditation. And I realized at one point that because in meditating and connecting with the cosmos, I felt like I was in a certain, I could feel it in my body where I was. And I realized at one point, I can do that when I'm in nature. I don't necessarily need to sit to meditate. I can just be someplace and access that place in my body.
Beautiful.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So it's like a quick, it's like the 7-Eleven of connecting to the universe. You get in there, get what you need, get out if that's what you desire. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. It's definitely very much that way. And you mentioned gardening a few times. I think there's something that happens when we dig our toes and our hands into the soil.
Yes.
That I don't know if it's the micronutrients or I don't know enough about the science behind it, but there's something that happens to us as human beings. Well, you can feel it when you go to the ocean and 100%. All the what are they, the
negative ions.
Thank you. I don't have all the words. I just know how things feel. You feel different when you're in that environment. And it's the same thing. I mean, it's stuff.
It is. It's powerful. It really is powerful. And I'm glad that you shared the wind chime situation, because the vibration and the frequency in which chimes will invite will speak to us in a very, very different level. And I think being more acutely aware of the sounds that are coming into our energetic space, be it cussing rap music or negative news, anything that's out there, to be very excuse me, anything that's out there, to be really cognizant of, do I really want this in my sacred space?
Yes.
So important.
Yeah, I mentioned the construction next door a while ago, and they're putting in a lot of houses, and they had equipment that was actually shaking the ground. So then my whole house is making noise. And I realized, I mean, I totally took birdsong for granted. I realized I just miss hearing the birds sing. Yes. You know, that's, for me, it's just like part of my morning, this joyous cacophony of, I'm totally anthropomorphizing, but there's this, like, we're alive, life is good, there's food, whatever they're saying, or hey, I'm looking for a mate.
Yes, I don't know what they're saying, that's right.
Oh, it's just so important. Yeah. So my goal right now is, because I am working with my land, is to build some kind of sound. And I've been finding lots of stuff online of people who build kind of like prehistoric sound machines. I don't know what else to go. Oh, like a drum is a machine. So some kind of sound relationship. But the nice thing about my mom's chimes, it's the wind.
Yes.
That's moving it, right? So I'm trying to find this relationship between nature and sound and my body, which also then taps into all the other stuff. So that's what I'm playing with creatively right now. My feminine's contemplating it, and at some point my masculine will go, okay, time to go. Let's get this project going.
That's a really interesting combination, because everything works in tandem on an energetic level anyways, right? It comes through the body, out through nature, and out through space and time.
Yeah, we're all connected. I think that's one of the big things that humans forget, is we are connected. You know, this is, and hopefully the pandemic did point that out to people,
Mm-hmm.
If nothing else, the human beings, we're not separate. We're
Right.
let alone the earth and the atmosphere and everything. We're not separate entities.
That's right.
It's not us versus them. It's us. It's just us, all of us, the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So the more we can be loving and kind to ourselves, the more that can emanate out.
Exactly. Well, and I think the kinder we are to ourselves, the kinder we are to other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's right.
All these people we see wandering around the world yelling and screaming about how horrible somebody else is. It's like, oh my God, what's going on inside of you? They probably hate themselves. And that's it's really sad. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Projecting a little more love that way, and trust that they are open enough to receive it is perhaps one opportunity that we have.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Haden, this has been such a delight.
For me as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories, your huge nuggets of wisdom. And the analogy of this beautiful egg that I'm going to see hundreds and thousands of magnificent sparkles inside every time I get a little nudge to be a little more creative, is I'm going to see this massive egg ready to break out. So thank you so much, Haden.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.